Breaking: North Korea just prepared 6 sabotage for U.S. warship, look what's all over their shore. Tensions have been mounting between the United States and North Korea over the past several weeks as Kim Jong-un continues to make threats of nuclear war while deploying his forces to the North Korean border. The real possibility of a war being launched on the communist state is quickly becoming reality after it was revealed that President Trump held an emergency doomsday meeting with 100 senators earlier this week. But immediately after President Trump sent a nuclear submarine to the Korean peninsula overnight armed with Tomahawk missiles to join our other naval fleets, it appears as though Kim Jong-un is already in retaliation mode and has a nasty surprise waiting for any U.S. forces headed his way. As Kim Jong-un continues to rattle his sabers with threats of war, what's unfortunate is that all our intelligence communities can do is estimate what North Korea's true military capabilities are, as the state's forces have long remained shrouded in mystery. But President Trump isn't playing around when it comes to protecting America, and has been on top of what's going on in the region, as he continues to deploy more and more arsenal as a show of force. Now, breaking images are showing that North Korea too isn't messing around, where monstrous artillery can be seen lined up on the border, in a historic move that's being called the biggest ever show of force by Kim Jong-un. Images show how the dictator watches gleefully as he puts his warplanes, submarines, and massed guns into place as they fire across the water, attempting to threaten the United States as the USS Carl Vinson makes its way towards Korea. North Korean media reports that Kim Jong-un personally ordered the guns on the eastern coast where they have been non-stop firing during training. The Daily Star UK reported. Submarines rapidly submerged to make torpedo attacks at the enemy warships while fighters and bombers made 0 feet flight above the sea to drop bombs on the targets. Watching the exciting scenery, the leader praised the seamen of submarines and pilots for hitting targets every time. More than 300 large-caliber self-propelled guns lined up along the coast opened fire all at once. The brave artillerymen mercilessly and satisfactorily hit the targets and the gunshots were very correct, he said. This comes on the heels of President Trump's emergency meeting on Monday, where he told ambassadors at a White House gathering that we must act now to stop North Korea. The Council must be prepared to impose additional and stronger sanctions on North Korean nuclear and ballistic missile programs, Trump stated. This is a real threat to the world, whether we want to talk about it or not. North Korea is a big world problem and it's a problem that we have to finally solve. This is extremely chilling, but thank God we have a president who has his finger on the pulse of what's going on and is surrounded by capable advisors and officials, including former Marine General Mattis. Below is more about the nuclear submarine that President Trump deployed to Korean Peninsula, where the U.S. Navy will be ready to meet Kim Jong-un with deadly force should he make good on his threats to nuke the United States. Conservative Tribune has more. As tensions on the Korean Peninsula have increased over North Korea's nuclear weapons and missile tests, the United States recently made a massive power move by sending a nuclear-powered submarine into the region. The USS Michigan, which was built to carry and launch ballistic and Tomahawk cruise missiles, pulled into the South Korean port of Pusan early Tuesday morning for what was officially called a routine hull check, according to CNN. LT to carry and launch ballistic and Tomahawk cruise missiles, pulled into the South Korean port of Pusan early Tuesday morning for what was officially called a routine hull check, according to CNN. Unofficially, however, the submarine's presence has been hailed a show of force meant to send a strong message to Pyongyang on the same day North Korea celebrated the 85th anniversary of the founding of the Korean People's Army. U.S. naval forces in Korea publicly said the port call was routine, but officials quietly told CNN that the timing was not a coincidence, as an aircraft carrier strike group also made its way into the region on April 24. The carrier group was in the Philippine Sea in waters south of Japan, conducting joint exercises with Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force, according to the UK Telegraph. Meanwhile, South Korea's Navy has been conducting exercises with U.S. destroyers in waters west of the Korean Peninsula, and they plan to soon join the carrier strike group approaching the region. President Donald Trump described the force as an armada in early April when speaking with Fox Business Network's Maria Bartiromo about the situation with North Korea. Breaking, school on lockdown with officer down in the state, shooter still at large. Here's what else is happening now. Update, the Delaware state trooper has succumbed to his injuries. Video of the procession is at the end of the article. The Delaware police are closed in on a suspect who allegedly shot a state trooper at a Wawa store near Middletown, Delaware. The crime had place nearby schools on lockdown as the area was being searched for the suspect. All schools located in the Appoquinimink School District were included in the lockdown. It's now being reported that the suspect was holed up in his home and firing shots towards officers who've converged on the property. The state trooper who was shot has not yet been named, but was last reported as being in critical condition in a hospital. The shooting happened around 12 p.m. at the store on Pulaski Highway, Route 40, near Salem Church Road. While the exact circumstances of the shooting have not been released, a witness tells Action News the trooper was on the ground when the suspect shot the trooper execution style. A witness told the News Journal that he was stopped at a red light near the store and heard gunfire. When Clarence Travers looked over, he saw an officer in a blue uniform fall to the ground. Travers told the newspaper that a man then got out of his vehicle, walked around the officer's SUV and shot the officer on the ground multiple times before running off. Execution-style crimes should be rewarded with execution-style sentences from a judge. It's a darn shame this witness wasn't armed or he could have helped the officer at the most horrible time of need. This crime will be stuck in Travers' head forever. Being there, helpless, unable to do anything to help as an armed criminal shoots a state trooper, must hurt this guy on the inside. You know he probably wanted to help, but without a weapon of his own to fight the criminal with, then what could he possibly do? Another witness told Action News then the guy pushed the officer. I guess he was trying to get to the car or whatever. When he pushed the officer and he ran, so he pushed him and ran, the witness said. I didn't understand it, I thought he was trying to push him and get away. He pushed him then he started shooting. According to this witness, the criminal pushed the state trooper to the ground, shot him, then ran away. After that, another witness named Monica Moore stated that people ran to provide CPR services to help save the officer before the ambulance arrived. Police say a male suspect is refusing orders to surrender and continues to fire at officers. It is believed that he is inside the home by himself. Hostage negotiators were trying to establish contact with the man. Police were led to the development after receiving tips and information from witnesses at a Wawa in Bear, Delaware, where the trooper was shot. Residents in the area are being told to stay inside their homes and lock their doors until notified otherwise. Normally I would ask for a better description of the suspect other than male. Can we get a size, shape, and color? However, in this particular situation, the suspect is already hiding in his home and firing shots at the window. It won't be long until they smoke the guy out, blast him into next year, or if need be, send one of those robots in with an explosive and take him out like it's the 4th of July and this is the All-American Fireworks Show. Why have a shootout when we can blow the guy up? One stick of dynamite is all it takes. While the police and negotiators work to apprehend the suspect, the fallen state trooper is suffering from a pointless attack from a suspect who will likely end up spending the rest of his life in prison or shot on the spot at his own home. Is that the type of life that criminals want to live? If this guy wanted a death by police suicide, then he could have simply shot at the state trooper's feet and then let the trooper shot him. Why try to take other people out with you? Just take yourself out and stop being selfish. The other option is to go get help. No matter how bad someone has it, there's always people who would hate if they were gone. There is always someone who will miss you. Breaking, Iranian ship just intercepted U.S. destroyer, gets brutal lesson in what's on board. President Donald Trump has given power back to our military who are now in full force defending our country against our Middle Eastern adversaries as well as those in North Korea. As tensions heat up against those who wish to harm America, The attacks are starting to take place, as was recently seen when an Iranian ship tried to intercept a U.S. destroyer. Unfortunately for them, they'll learn the brutal reason of how our ship got its name when finding out what was on board after it was too late to ask for forgiveness. America isn't messing around anymore, but it turns out that not all of our enemies have gotten the message. The Obama era is over and Trump is in charge, who has already proven that he isn't afraid to fire at who has had it coming for far too long. Feeling tough and mighty against America in their fast attack craft, an Iranian Revolutionary Guard came within about 3,200 feet of a U.S. guided missile destroyer. This proved to be a really bad mistake, with what they found themselves on the receiving end of that they never saw coming. The small Iranian attack ship apparently assumed they had all their bases covered with each of their weapons manned when they pulled a bold move of trying to intercept a U.S. warship. It appeared to be a clear attempt at testing America's military power now that Trump and General Mattis are running the show, which resulted in the perfect answer they weren't expecting. Without hesitation, the USS Mayan was ready for them and fired warning shots off at their ridiculous little speedboat. That flare signal was apparently enough for the foreign ship to get the message and keep its distance, Conservative Tribune reported. The incident happened Monday as the vessel attempted to draw closer to the USS Mayan despite the destroyer trying to turn away from it, Lieutenant Ian McConaughey said, according to the Daily Mail. The Mayan made several attempts to contact the Iranian vessel by bridge-to-bridge radio, issuing warning messages and twice sounding the internationally recognized danger signal of 5 short blasts with the ship's whistle, as well as deploying a flare to determine the Iranian vessel's intentions, McConaughey added in his statement to the Associated Press. 2 days after the assertive incident occurred, authorities finally released the details of the interaction. The U.S. and Iran routinely have tense encounters in the Persian Gulf and the nearby Strait of Hormuz, through which a third of all oil traded by sea passes, Mail Online's report explained. Iran views the American presence as a provocation, and its paramilitary Revolutionary Guard shadows U.S. Navy ships in the Gulf, occasionally firing missiles or rockets nearby. This isn't the first time Iran has taunted one of our warships, but this time it ended much differently than the last. There were 35 instances in 2016 alone that were described as unsafe and or unprofessional run-ins with the Iranian military. One of these incidents last year resulted in the capture of 10 U.S. sailors who were held overnight. In January, the same American vessel fired warning shots from its .50 caliber machine gun to get the attention of 4 different craft that were coming too close, according to the Conservative Tribune. The difference this time is that we have a capable commander-in-chief and the perfect U.S. Secretary of Defense in Mattis, who don't negotiate with terrorists. We simply treat the threat with fire and send a clear message to stay away and not to mess with America. The U.S. Navy has proved how these provocations will be handled from now on, starting with a simple warning and escalating the less gentle measures of delivering the message. There are no more red lines drawn to just be ignored. Now, the only red our enemies will see will be in the fireball coming in their direction should they try to aggressively come at America and disregard our warnings. As tensions continue to rise, our adversaries will likely keep testing the limits of our military and inevitably learn for good if they do that things are much different than they have been the last 8 years. This battle is far from over, and we will keep you informed with each development coming from the Persian Gulf, which isn't expected to end well for Iran.